tuned into Black Hollywood Live, the world's first digital broadcast network devoted entirely to urban entertainment and pop culture. Tune in right now.
Welcome back. This is BLM Community, more than a hashtag. I'm your host, Shaka Smith, joined by some wonderful panelists today, actor Ben Patterson and Beachbody coach, creator of the work, celebrity fitness trainer Amwala Caesar. How you guys doing today?
Doing good. Thank you for inviting us.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to ask you guys, how are you guys coping with, Corona? We're still in this pandemic. Of course, we have these protests that are going on. How are you guys coping with that just on a personal level? I'll start with you, Ben.
Wow. On a personal level, I'm doing okay. Socially, it's still kind of awkward. Everything is very careful, I guess is the best way to say it. I went to the store yesterday for the first time and got a birthday cake for somebody. It was just things are a little weird, but I mean, on a creative side, like I'm able to still create and produce and write. So I'm doing my best to focus on that. So all things are good.
How about you, Amwala?
Same. I think personally, I'm doing great. Just taking a lot of time to just knowledge myself, just spend some time just on a quest of just for greater knowledge, and just getting better at my craft. But I believe, socially, again, we are still having this pandemic as well, and also what we have going on in the world as well with the movement that we're obviously going to talk about today. But I have a little agoraphobia because of the pandemic. When I leave the house, I find myself wanting to come back home. Still a little anxiety there, but for the most part, I'm doing pretty good. So
yeah, and we got some good news in that the scientists are saying that the protesting has not led to an increase so far. That's not what's attributing to the spike that we're seeing in Corona. So maybe it's the outdoors and people wearing masks, but so far it looks like the protesting is not contributing to the spike we're seeing. So that's a good thing. And I love that these protests are ongoing. Have you guys gotten a chance to check out the protest? And are you planning to check out the protest? Amwala?
Yes, I actually went to the downtown LA protest, and that was a really great one. Being part of the protest is awesome because they are taking precautions as well. The people are walking around with sanitizers, food, snacks. Everyone is trying to keep their distance and wearing masks. If you don't have masks, they're passing out masks as well. So, but I did go to the protest a couple weeks ago. If you haven't gone and if you stand for what's right, it just changes. Like you just feel this emotion that just rushes all across you. So I wanted to be a part of that and continue to spread my voice.
Yeah, and how about you, Ben? And are you any concern about safety? Because I know that was a concern for some people as well.
Well, we've gone and I brought my camera and took a lot of really good shots. Hopefully this is one of those things I look back on and I'm telling my son, like, yeah, you were 4 when this was happening. Just as, Black Panthers was going on when I was born. So we went and the atmosphere was as things were becoming more civil and less riotous, if that makes sense, because it was kind of like, I think the Saturday that things kind of really like sparked off and went in the bad direction, we weren't there. But then the following Tuesday, we were down La Cienega and Santa Monica and then walked. But, the atmosphere is what it is. And sometimes it gets a little derailed, but the majority of the people that are out there for the right reasons. And it's a little daunting at the same time. It is very encouraging and it's empowering to see so many different people from so many different walks of life that are chanting and saying the same thing and about the same positivity, regardless of their level of involvement. There's some people that are screaming at the top of their lungs. There's some people that are completely silent, but they're there. Their presence is there,
And I love that we've kept the energy up. It's got to keep it up to November, of course. But we got a lot to talk about. We got the policing bill, Bubba Wallace, blackface, Jimmy Kimmel and Tina Fey issuing apologies, and we got the My Black Receipt campaign we want to talk about as well. But we'll start off with a little bit of the breaking news on the policing bill. So the Senate Democrats today shot down the GOP version of the policing bill, which they believe had no teeth. So the GOP policing bill had no national set of standards. It did not ban chokeholds outright, but instead incentivized states to do so by blocking federal grant funds. And whereas the Democrat bill had no chokeholds, no knock warrants in the Breonna Taylor cases, which led to her death, and they established some national standards, including body cameras on police officers. So I want to know from you guys, what do you think about the incentivization approach by blocking federal grant funds for police departments that don't implement some of these different solutions versus the Democratic approach of actually banning them nationwide outright? I'll start with you on that, Ben.
Okay. When you go after someone's funding, it's a less impactful and it's a slower process, which allows for that margin of error time. And when you go after something directly and say, okay, now this is banned, this is illegal, this is outlawed, this is no longer practiced and can be confronted on that level, you get the desired result. And the softer approach may be more desirable because, okay, if you go after my money, then I won't do it. But if I get caught, then okay, you take some money away, but still lives were lost in the aftermath. Whereas the other approach is more, it's a literal approach as opposed to like actually saying it's more of like it's an action-based approach. Mm-hmm. So, you know, don't go after someone's money because it doesn't make the difference. If it's illegal and it's being done, then that can be punished. But if it's like, okay, I'm going to take some money away from you if you do this again, it's like, okay, well, great. I'll just not have as much money, but I'll still be violent. You know what I mean? And there's just way more room for the same thing to happen, you know, with that approach. So I'm not for the approach of defunding as opposed to, not defund the police. In the two scenarios that you suggested, the approach of just making it outright illegal is the approach that I'm for.
Yeah, and I should also highlight that the Democratic bill goes after qualified immunity, which means it allows individuals to sue the police for wrongdoing, whereas the Republican bill does not go after qualified immunity. So you might have that period where people can actually deliver these chokeholds, but the police will never be civilly liable for it individually. What are your thoughts, Marlon?
I agree just a little about defunding. I'm all for defunding, but if you're gonna light someone's pockets, you get the answer that you want, but you're not getting a change, a cultural change and a societal change and a system change. It has to be illegal. The punishment has to be something that frightens them from even about, oh, I can't use this maneuver or I can't use that maneuver. And I believe that, you know, making an outlaw is the way to do this. I do agree with that. I do find that, you know, it's weird that it's been dismissed after what we're going through right now. Multiple, not only just with George Floyd, but I mean, Elijah as well, the same thing. And this kid was put in a position, a death position, basically. And again, we're going through the system again. So if you dismantle chokeholds, again, you can keep your money, or we can disperse the money in different aspects, or maybe into the homeless or better jobs. But I agree with that. The Democratic bill needs to be pushed to the fact that it needs to be banned out. And then we got to continue to fight that. And the only way that we continue to do that, I believe that we got to go into our city halls, our city representatives, our council representatives, and continue to preach for it and continue to push for that. So you have to inform me, how do we push another bill to go forward to bring this back to life? How do we put more legs under this to push that and have that going forward? So I guess that's the question that we have to figure out, how to restart this up again.
Well, I think fortunately we're close to November, so that's the easy fix. You know, all we gotta do is vote and vote, you know, in multitudes, and vote the way that's going to impact our communities in a positive way. But I think Senator Kamala Harris got it right in a moment that eventually went viral. But she said the Republican bill simply does not meet the moment. And, you know, I'm in complete agreement, doesn't meet the moment. We're going to play this moment that she had that's now gone viral with Senator Cornyn that we'll play right now. But people are kind of saying that this moment may actually increase her VP chances. I think we got it going soon. But yeah, they're saying that it may actually increase her VP chances, and she had a very strong response. So here we go.
Trying to fathom, Madam President, is why the senator would rather have these negotiations occur behind closed doors as opposed to here on the floor of the Senate for the American people to see broadcast on television. Don't you think that sort of interaction and debate and negotiation out in front of all 330 million Americans would be beneficial to healing our country and coming to some consensus about what the appropriate reforms should be?
Indeed, that is the beauty of the Judiciary Committee. Our meetings are public meetings.
I love the pause. So, yeah, Cornyn attacks Kamala for not holding this in public when she correctly notes that the judiciary meetings are actually public meetings. So I don't know why he would even go on that line of attack and be disingenuous as to say that she was trying to do something in private when it was clear that the Judiciary Committee meetings that she wanted to have to kind of bring the Democrats and Republicans closer on the policing bill that he refused to have would have been public regardless. Now, Senator Kamala Harris, some people say, has a troubling past as the former Attorney General of California. Do you think her strong advocacy for this policing bill will help acquit her of some of that? Is she still a strong VP candidate in your opinion?
I think it'll make her a stronger candidate, and that the appeal for her will grow even further, because again, this is the moment that we're talking about right now. We have to get through, are we being enforced, or are the police going to be a part of the community? And so, especially when we go on for generations to generation, police brutality, this just didn't happen yesterday. This is happening for decades, for centuries. So again, right now, we need someone to stand up right now, meet the moment that we are right now. And I think this helps her out her appeal. I don't know if it's a ploy for her. Obviously, I would love to see her in the VP position. But again, it's about what we need right now. The politics and things, whatever. But at this moment, we're talking about this topic, and we need to address this topic. So anyone that's willing to address this topic and to speak for the people, you have my vote. So, and I feel about it.
How about you, Ben?
You know, it's kind of clear cut and dry for me. Like, there's a lot of things that make this situation become very tedious to deal with and very cumbersome and and it's by design. It's the reason why legal documents are 17 pages, 30 pages long. I think that when people, to your point as well, when people stand up right now and start speaking on behalf of people and are addressing issues that are happening right now and have been happening, that's what needs to be. That's why politicians that are good at their jobs are needed. And she's a politician. I wasn't sure what you were referring to when you're talking about her past, because I haven't done a lot of research on a lot of the candidates. But it's like when you're in the mix and you're doing the things and you're in the rooms and you're having those conversations, you understand what it takes to be there and what it takes to stay there. So I support her.
Yeah. I think that, well, when I talk about her past as Attorney General, people say she was involved in prosecutions of minorities, Black men, and so that, given her past in that sense, that it's hard for her to really speak on our behalf when it comes to justice in the criminal system. And I think her sense has been she's been trying to work towards more justice while being in that system.
Right. And I think that's kind of like the only way to truly know it is to actually be in it. And I'm not saying that I agree with any of her past, because like I said, I don't know what it is, but I do understand the context of which, in order to accurately navigate it and correct it, you have to have come through it. You can't necessarily just be on the outside over here and go like, hey, I'm who I am and I'm going to go in and change it. You got to come up through it, and navigate it somehow and with a good conscience. Now we're in 2020, so she's had a history in the California system where she would be the accurate, she would know the accurate moves to make, being that she wants to help.
And we are all waiting. Hopefully, we'll get those answers soon from Biden. That'll be a big news story, and we'll have to jump on and cover that as well. But of course, this morning I get onto Twitter, and Jussie Smollett's trending. I'm like, what has Jussie Smollett done? I don't know what's happening. But he hasn't done anything. He's getting comparisons to Bubba Wallace. So what we know is that Sunday, NASCAR found a noose in Bubba Wallace's stall. FBI was called in. NASCAR issued, a strong statement against racism. Bubba Wallace did the same. A lot of support came in from the NASCAR community. As a result, it was revealed that that noose had been in his stall since 2019, which means that it was there before he was in the stall. So the noose, it looks like, was unrelated to him. It was maybe a door pull to pull a door. So it was completely unrelated to Bubba Wallace. And people are now saying, it was a hoax like Jussie Smollett. Bubba Wallace did go to address some of these issues on Don Lemon. I think it was Monday night, and he addressed the racism, but he also addressed, everyone coming together. And he issued a statement on Twitter saying that there might be some embarrassment initially denouncing this as a racist thing, but the fact that we all came together was what we should be focusing on, and that the steps were taken. The FBI investigated and found out it wasn't racist, and it was something that he was informed about. He didn't find it himself. The NASCAR informed him about it and said, here's what's happening. Let's move forward with, we're moving forward with an investigation. So kind of wanted to know your thoughts on Bubba Wallace. Are these comparisons fair? I don't think they're fair, but you guys may have different thoughts on it. How about you, Amwala? I see you shaking your head.
First off, no, the comparison is not fair at all. Understand the social climate that we're in right now. So even if it was in 2019, and it just somehow happens to pop up now, the question is, it wasn't a premeditated thing, such as some people might have done. I'm not sure if Jussie did it, if it was premeditated or not, but this wasn't premeditated. This was, again, first off, if it has been there, it's been there for a while. NASCAR is a sport which we know is heavily resembled by the Confederate flag and so forth. The days before, you had guys driving up with their Confederate flags, protesting about going against Black Lives Matter and everything. So to compare the two situations is insane because, again, he is the only Black spokesman and Black person in NASCAR. And you find a noose, and my first reaction would be is to bring it to someone's attention. Now, when they found out supposedly that this has been there since 2019, great job with the investigation. I still think that, I don't know how it pops up out of nowhere and then you just say, oh, it's been here. Yeah, I still believe it was placed, but it's not comparable. It's not comparable at all. We're talking about emotion, and I don't want people to try to push it or throw it under the rug. We still have to have this conversation. So many people are ready to just go back to work and go on with their lives, and they don't want to hear about Black Lives Matter and this, but no, we have to keep this same energy going through election. I don't believe it was a hoax. I believe genuinely that it has been there because it's part of the sport, and the noose is there because it's part of the sport. So.
And Ben, what do you think?
I agree. I don't believe that the comparison is fair. I feel like the Jussie Smollett situation, from what I was able to gather from it, was unfortunately set up. And I think that this situation is a much bigger thing. But also, here again, if it was there since 2019, like, why was it there? Okay, like it was there, so that was discovered. But I do appreciate the fact that NASCAR, being as big and as vast and as predominantly white as it is, we're like, okay, we're distancing ourselves from this flag from now on. Like, that to me, like, I mean, growing up, I was a swimmer. And I was the only Black swimmer on my team for at least a year and a half. I think another guy came on when I was a sophomore or junior year. But I remember just hearing stuff, being like, okay. So coming from the place of being the only guy in your sport, and you had the sense of brotherhood and camaraderie and all that kind of stuff, but to have an entire organization get behind you and physically walk with you around the track, like, I mean, that's a huge statement. And to some extreme people, they might be like, well, you know what, I like that NASCAR, but I don't agree with this. But to some people that may have been on the fence, the more impressionable people, or at least the people that are like a little bit that are thinking about this situation, might have been, just from seeing that unification, um, can actually go, okay, you know what? Something is up here. Something is not right, and there is something nice and good and lovely and beautiful about people coming together about an inequality that's as old as time itself.
And I mean, not to mention, for me personally, now I would actually be willing to go to a NASCAR race, because now I would feel a little bit safer thinking, okay, this organization supports the things, my equal rights, my, things that make me feel like I'm equal to everyone else here. I mean, I went to a country concert several years ago and I felt a little uncomfortable, but knowing that the organization supports you, then you feel a little bit better. NASCAR did, as you mentioned, ban the Confederate flag from their races.
Yeah.
And I think that was another great action in support of Black Lives Mattering here. So we got more work to do on that, but Jimmy Kimmel and Tina Fey have issued apologies, and we are talking about blackface here. I think we have some pictures. And so, of course, now everyone is scrutinizing all these things. Jimmy Kimmel has now said that this was a Karl Malone impression, and he's done some other impressions. Oprah, I think he's done some Snoop Dogg as well. Tina Fey had blackface episodes in 30 Rock, and now we're beginning to think differently about this. And I think these are actually instances of blackface I want to say, and I don't want to speak wholly here, but a lot of the members of the Black community were actually fine with at the time. We had Tropic Thunder, Robert Downey Jr. also got, and I don't think he's issued an apology quite yet, but I remember a lot of Black people being fine with that representation at the time. What do you guys think now about their apologies? Are they sincere? Should they be quote unquote canceled, as we were talking about 2020? And what is the place or role for blackface going forward? Is there any?
To talk on this, number one, they shouldn't be canceled. That's just my opinion. Just because, again, I watched Tropic Thunder, and I'm going to tell you from my perspective, I never once said, man, this is racist. This is making me feel some type of way. It is art. These guys are actors, actresses. They're portraying a part at the time. Again, so much is happening right now to where we want to point the finger. But in my opinion, personally, Ben could feel different. I don't have a personal problem with this because we understand the context and when it was. I think that's the biggest thing, is the context of when it happened, and what the message was. And they were portraying a particular person. And to look like Charles Barkley and to talk like Charles Barkley, you might have to do a little makeup work and to do that as well. So I personally, I'm fine with the art form. I think if something was happening now and they were trying to make a joke of this now, then we would have an issue. And yeah, you would be canceled for 2020 and for the rest of you.
Yeah. And just to give a little history, the blackface came out of 19th century minstrel shows where white performers wore blackface, but in a very derogatory form against Black people. Ben, what are your thoughts?
So to that, what you just said was going to be like what I start with is, I feel like, one, this isn't necessarily, and people will disagree or they will agree, blackface, as you're talking about in the minstrel shows, was the dark and then the white lips, and that's highly derogatory. And I think even Ted Danson at some point was dating Whoopi Goldberg and went to a party with that on. Mm-hmm. Now, as it relates to Tropic Thunder and Jimmy Kimmel and Tina Fey, I did see this about with another actor. It was Jamie Foxx's interview talking about Robert Downey Jr. When you go after comedy, the fine line you have to walk is you can't censor everything under this umbrella of it's going to offend. And then with that, I also say that same thing. Like when I watched Tropic Thunder, I didn't feel that he was making fun of a black person. I felt that he was portraying a character in a movie that he was just fully committed to. And people have to, or I would say that I'm okay with a character being portrayed if they're not making fun of a person rather than they're creating a funny situation and the situation itself is funny. Like he wasn't doing, like if you saw Hollywood Shuffle, the things that Robert Townsend was saying that the other actors were being made to do, and that he felt discriminated against. Like if that was the type of stuff that was being portrayed, then yeah, that could be seen as derogatory towards a specific race. But I feel like if you start going after anything and everything that can be a little politically off the cuff at some points, or maybe down the road, then you start to get into a very, very, very comedically sterile place. You know, it's not like, okay, you can make fun of these people, but you can't make fun of these people, but not in a sense that you can make fun of a race. Like you can portray someone outside of your culture if you're a good enough actor. It's like when Eddie Murphy did the white guy on Saturday Night Live. You know, he had the hair, he did the and when he did Coming to America, but it wasn't like Jewish people were offended by it. I don't know what the conversations were in the household. I looked at it as, wow, he's born and raised in that culture, and you know he can do the voice. He's got the accent. He's got all the mannerisms down. Like that's what a comic does. Same with Angela Johnson doing Crystal,
Bone Kiki.
Bone Kiki, and the nail salon.
Yeah.
It was like if you're doing the work as the actor in the craft, you really can't get mad at that.
Right.
And if it's somebody just making some really like rude and just messed up comments, then yeah, I understand. Okay, like that's not cool. But you know,
I think I agree on that for the kind of work we're talking about and when it happened. But I don't know if I agree going forward. I think 2020, I think blackface might be canceled in its entirety. You know, I don't know how you would take it if, you're doing a biopic on Ted Danson. Is that character playing Ted Danson going to do that's a scene that was big from his life, him playing the blackface. Could that character be not allowed to wear the blackface in that scene, or cut the scene altogether because
right,
it's that controversial going forward?
Right, because of the given the nature of
yeah, and I kind of feel it is that controversial going forward, and that it's kind of canceled now completely. Do you guys think so going forward?
I agree. I think right now, again, it's a sensitive time, and I think that it's questioning everything. Is it a stereotype or is it racist now? And like it could fall under the same umbrella. So I think going forward now, we're gonna tiptoe a little bit different, and we're gonna move a little bit different. I think comedy can be expressed in different ways. I think Dave Chappelle has statements a lot. He talks a lot about this, about how even in comedy, you didn't chew the part for the things that you do say. But I do think I do think you have to be able to still have that comedic relief. But and I think there is a time and place. But I do think that if you are portraying, if we are going forward in the entertainment industry, I think that now you have to think about the choices or the comments that you make, or the black exploitations that you do. So exploitations that you have. So I do see changes towards the future. I think people are going to tread carefully. So
Ben?
Yeah, I think I agree. I think people are going to be much more, I mean, tame is the only word I can really think of. I think of movies like Airplane and Caddyshack, and I mean, you can go down the list of anything from like 82 to 97 that you could not remake, just given what's going on, even 2 years ago, what's going on, because things have become such a different, there's become such a gravity to some of the things that are said. I mean, some people laugh at it and go, okay, this is funny, but then they take it to a disrespectful place and go, okay, well, now you're just a clown.
Yeah.
Whereas, in some aspects, you can go, oh, wow, Eddie Murphy's a genius because he did Nutty Professor, he did all these characters. And then he did, Coming to America, and he did all these characters. Like, wait, no, he did something, he did a Jewish guy, that's racist, I can't do that anymore. So it does kind of like, where does that leave us? But I mean, comedy is a very, there's millions of possibilities of
There's room to
talk
move.
about.
Yeah. And 30 Rock, 2008, 2012, so it's all very recent. But they are pulling those 4 episodes from streaming services. Gone with the Wind has been pulled from HBO Max. So some of these entertainment companies are responding to what's going on here.
Right.
On the positive note, we've all seen this whole support Black businesses. My Black Receipt is a website that is trying to raise $5 million for Black businesses between now and July 6th. So if you upload your receipt to My Black Receipt, then they want to get to 5 million. July 7th is Blackout Day, where we're supposed to be pulling our Black dollars, not spending any money. So they wanted that as a lead up. This was started by Black Upstart, led by Kezia Williams. She normally trains Black entrepreneurs. And so this is her sort of commitment to building Black businesses. And they've also partnered with Yelp, which is allowing businesses to define themselves as Black owned. And I've seen on several apps, I don't know if you guys have seen, I've seen on Instagram and TikTok, highlighting Black creators, highlighting Black music. What do you guys think about that trend, the positivity of the trend, and the potential backlash against the trend as people feel sort of disenfranchised in a way from Black businesses being highlighted? I'll start with you on that one, Beth. Yeah. Sorry, you, Ben.
Sorry, you said it quick. I don't feel like there's a real disadvantage in it, in that when you look at how businesses are highlighted in general, if you don't know it's a Black-owned business, then it becomes the business that has the most money that gets pushed in front of you the most. And so I feel like this is kind of leveling things in such a way that now you do have a choice. And I mean, I was on Instagram the other day and it said Black owned at the bottom, it said sponsored. And I was like, oh, that's good for them. Like, they've actually jumped into a position of actually doing something that will potentially help. It's a trickle down effect, but I feel like businesses that can be patronized, that are Black owned, either locally or nationally, people are going to benefit because of that. I don't feel like there's going to be a business out there that's going to go, because of, when June hit, like, Hertz rental cars just took a dive. Like, no, I feel like companies that are around, let's just take the restaurant industry. If you're a successful restaurant, it's not going to damage your business by local, smaller Black-owned restaurants to now thrive, if not compete and succeed. I mean, there's enough business for people to work. It's just like, okay, let's funnel it toward these businesses for a long enough time that we can get them to that thriving point.
Yeah. How about you, Moala?
I agree. I think this is amazing. The reason why is because, again, we have been oppressed for God knows how long. And this is for our Black community to be able to circulate and to grow. The biggest thing is, if you want the economy to grow, you can't focus on one race, can't focus on one business. You have to focus on the entirety. So the more money flows through Black businesses, Armenian businesses, Spanish businesses, like, that's the flow for your people. That's the flow for your community. That's the flow for where you are. I think when there's a Walmart that comes in, they don't have community ties. They don't do things for the community, but then you have a Black-owned business that gets washed away because of a Walmart. And these are the communities that are there at the city hall meetings. These are the communities, these are the people who are building brick by brick and doing something for the community. So investing more into the That's just you investing into your community. Atlanta, which I love Atlanta because of that. It's a Black-owned, to me, just very Black-owned businesses, and you see a community of thriving people. You don't see Sizzlers or Cheesecake crying about their profits. You don't, like, the bigger businesses are going to succeed no matter what. They have been succeeding. They will find ways to continue to succeed. But spreading the light on these hidden gems and Black communities, Black businesses, and other businesses as well will help the flow of our economics and to put money back into our pockets.
Yeah.
Continue, keep going. Continue to spread the awareness.
Yeah, we know the pandemic has hit us health-wise in a far worse way, but business-wise, Black business ownership went down the most, 41% between February and April. So these initiatives really, really are critical to what's going on in our communities. I just want to thank you guys because this has been an amazing conversation for joining here. Ben, I want to talk to you a little bit. You got Greenleaf Tuesday night, 9 p.m. We had the premiere of Greenleaf last night. Talk to me a little bit about what's going on with your season and let the viewers know where they can find you online.
Okay, switch gears real quick. Yes, Greenleaf premiered last night. Everybody can find out about me and what's going on with that at Benjamin Patterson all day on Instagram. Ben just creates on Twitter, and then Benjamin Patterson on Facebook. The season kicked off last night. A lot of stuff is happening with the family. Still haven't seen Noah Kendall yet, but as you saw at the very end, they say next week. Noah's back to set things right with his family and to figure things out between him and Grace, and also to finally meet his biological son that he's been deprived of all these years. And it's interesting. I've got some fan mail or fan letters through Instagram that people are like, where's Noah? Where's Noah? What's going on? So it looks like people are looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, the final season. So we are quite excited. I watched it last night. What an episode. So I'm excited for the rest of the season. So support Black actors, support Black networks, Oprah Winfrey Network, support Oprah, everybody. And of course, we got Amwala, we got Beachbody, the work you kicked off this year. Let us know what's going on with the work and where they can find you online.
You can find me online at 6weeksofthework.com. You can find the program. It's an at-home program you guys can do. Keep you going, keep you slim during Rona. Or you can go to my Instagram. It's Amwala, AMOILA_Caesar, CESAR. You can find all of my information there on what's going on with programs and so forth. Also, Ben just started watching Greenleaf. Awesome show. Yes, small world, but love the show. Continue. Can't wait to see how the rest of the seasons go. And thank you, Shaka, for having me here.
Yeah, and this is like Greenleaf trivia because I forgot to mention Amwala is Merle's trainer, fitness trainer.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yep.
You're TVX.
Well, I started it like last month, but I'm like picking it all the way through. I'm getting through it, but it's such a good show. I actually enjoy it a lot. So.
Very cool. Very cool. Thank you.
Support Black trainers, Amwala, Caesar, got Beachbody to work, and that's some serious work. I really love the program too. So, guys, hopefully you guys check these guys out. You guys can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat. It's Shaka Strong, and we'll see you guys next week.
Thank you.
On behalf of our BHL staff, we would like to thank you for tuning in to Black Hollywood Live, the world's first digital broadcast network devoted entirely to urban entertainment and pop culture. Check out our Black Hollywood Live YouTube page for even more great programming and amazing content, and be sure to subscribe and like our channel when you do. I'm your BHL host, Nakia Monet, and you can find me on all social media at Kiki Boom Boom or at Black Hollywood Live. Black Hollywood Live, Hollywood redefined.